My name is Brandon Cooper, and this is Creative Connectivity. Today we're going to talk a little bit about remote production, specifically the ways that we at First Mile Technologies continue to use robust and reliable connectivity tools to create a simple and effective solution for our clients. We recently sat down with production manager Ashley Shields-Muir to talk a little bit about our collaboration together on her show, The Craft Legacy. Here's our conversation now.
My name is Ashley Shields-Muir, and I am a production manager and producer in Toronto. I had found myself in Winnipeg for a feature film in sort of late summer of 2020, and it was a very strange time to be making things in the middle of a pandemic. And when we were there, we got word that we were going to need to do some reshoots for The Craft, which Dan Beckerman and myself had made the year before in Toronto. And we just happened in Winnipeg to have Michelle Monaghan, one of the actors that was needed for this reshoot. And given the circumstances of travel and quarantining and the pandemic and our own schedule on the Winnipeg feature, we just couldn't send her anywhere, but we also couldn't bring Zoe Lister-Jones, the director, in. It was a pretty substantial reshoot, not just on our end, but also they were doing some work in LA. It had some, pretty major changes to the ending of the film. And so it was really important to Zoe and to the producers at Blumhouse that she be able to direct the work. And under the circumstances of the world and the pandemic, this sort of seemed, working with First Mile Technology sort of seemed like the obvious option, at least to explore.
Without this technology at your disposal, how would you typically go about tackling something like this with the requirements that you had?
So I think if we had been put in this position to have to do a one-day reshoot on a feature where all of the creative people were in LA, the line producer, the original production manager, and one of the actors are in Canada, in the middle of the country, not really close to any of the major hubs, I don't really know if we would have been able to achieve exactly what Blumhouse was looking for. I don't think we could have had her be actually the one who was directing. I mean, to the point where when the DGC was asking who's going to direct this, we were able to confidently say, it's going to be Zoe Lister-Jones. It's going to be the director of the film. This isn't a second unit. This isn't, a reshoot that's happening without the director. This can be, under the circumstances of the technology, this can be Zoe directing from LA to our actors in Winnipeg. I think if we hadn't had the technology, we wouldn't have been able to do that.
Okay, now we'll take a look at the workflow. What devices did we use, and what was the configuration? Let's take a look. So we start with the camera, an Arri Alexa Mini on set in Winnipeg. Now, the NGO can be directly connected to the camera via SDI, or an outbound pathway from the Video Assist DIT card. The device encodes and encrypts the video and embedded sound, and sends it all out via 6 blended cellular connections, 2 Bell, 2 Telus, and 2 Rogers, that create a resilient pathway to our FMT cloud, where it's decoded and inserted into a viewing platform with sub 1 second latency. In this case, that platform was a Zoom call. Director Zoe Lister-Jones and DP Hilary Sparrow, located separately in Los Angeles, were communicating to the actors and crew via a tablet the first AD had on set, giving them the ability to control what was being blocked, rehearsed, and shot in real time.
I think some of the advantages that we found while working with the First Mile team and the technology was not even necessarily the things that we were experiencing in real time, but by seeing how it worked on this example, on the Craft reshoot, we were also able to imagine all the other ways it could work in the future. It was, in the immediate sense, it was really convenient. We felt like we were doing the movie and the creative team justice because they were as close to on the ground as they possibly could be under the circumstances of the world. the director was really happy. We also had the show's main unit DP on the line, and so she was also getting like a real-time feed of everything and was able to sort of be watching it alongside what the actual movie was, the rest of the movie. So she was able to communicate with our DP on the ground. So all of that, the fact that it worked really sort of seamlessly and really easily, and that it felt that, Zoe and Hillary were effectively as much there as they could be, that was great. That gave us a sense of ease. But for me, from a production manager and a producer's perspective, I instantly started to recognize how valuable it could be, not just in a time of a pandemic where traveling for work is difficult, and if it's not necessary, should be avoided. That seems like an obvious environment to use the technology, but also from a perspective of, let's imagine 2 years from now when the remnants of the pandemic are gone. Does it make the most sense for us to budget for 3 producers to come up from wherever? Or, does it make sense for us to have second unit directors from other places if we can have some sort of technology in place for the main unit director to do a reshoot from wherever he or she is? Where I think it's the most exciting is, 3 or 4 years from now, like, could this be part of the new normal, and what are the ways that it can be easier and cost effective and still maintain the integrity of and the creative integrity of whatever we're trying to do. The sort of cherry on top was the fact that this new technology that everyone was a little bit nervous about kind of worked perfectly from the get-go. So even though her like physical body couldn't be there, she was getting everything live streamed. She was connected to the actor. She was able through the ADs to communicate with Michelle, our actor, intimately in a way that didn't feel like her voice was just like being projected over a megaphone to the whole team. So I think they were really grateful for how, relatively seamless it seemed. And, it's also important to mention, I think, that we were in Winnipeg, Manitoba, where our experience in production in terms of internet in the province was really tough. So we were all a little bit nervous about the actual connectivity. And the First Mile team came in and was able to sort of ease us of that concern in conjunction with our DMTs and our camera team. And it was just never a problem. So the fact that everyone felt like they were connected to Zoe and Hillary and the Blumhouse team, it made what was already foundationally like a really stressful experience. It sort of made that last pin in the board feel like it wasn't a problem at all. So I think they're really grateful. I mean, I know they are. They said it several times, how grateful they were that we were able to connect everyone and put everything together in such a short time. We had people from Blumhouse, people that would not normally reach out over something like this, reach out and express how grateful they were to production. And we were very happy to say, like, it really wasn't us. We just happened to be there, So I think they're really grateful for the experience and certainly would work with it again. I feel like the producers in the experience of the craft reshoots would certainly not blink an eye if someone were to bring this up as an option. I also think it's important to mention that working with you guys, even before we started the craft, when we were, starting to talk about using the technology in a sort of pandemic production world, it was made very clearly to us from the team at First Mile right from the beginning that this wasn't an opportunity just for huge studio features or, huge networks that have tons of money. This wasn't like a toy that you got because you were like lucky enough to work on a big thing. This was a tool that was available to every project of every size and could be adjusted and formed and molded for each project, not just from a technical perspective and how the technology works, but also from can it be made affordable for all things? And that was really important to me as a production manager and as a producer who works in the indie community, because it made it so that this isn't something that I'm going to just talk to about, to Jason Blum. This is also something that I'm going to talk to about, with film school students and with people who are working on a $2 million telefilm project. Because really, in the time of COVID, those are the people that need this kind of help. And that really is what the technology is. It's like it makes something that's hard every day, that gives a little bit of ease, even in a hard thing to do on the best of times is now being made harder for people right now and for filmmakers. And the fact that you guys were so willing to make it work for whatever we could do, that was invaluable. That's the reason that I'm here today, for sure.
Thank you very much. It was fantastic working with you and your group. I'm really happy that we could be part of any kind of success, particularly in a situation like this. And thank you very much for taking the time here to join me.
It's my pleasure. I'm so glad that this is something you guys are doing, and it's definitely something that we want to work with again, and that we want to consider again, and really something that I hope everyone understands, that it's an integral tool during a pandemic, but it's also has endless possibilities, I think, in the future. So you're definitely going to hear from me again.
Oh, that's great. Thanks a lot.
Well, there you have it. A solution made simple, that was easily deployed and effective for everyone. Thanks to Ashley and the people from the Craft Legacy for having us involved in the project. If you have any other questions or want to talk to us about creating a customized connectivity solution for you, drop us a comment or hit us on our website at firstmiletech.com. Thanks for joining me today, and thanks for connecting.